lotus in purity, shame in the white lotus in purity, beyond all duality. Guru, image of Brahma, deliver us from delusion. Guru, image of Brahma, deliver us from delusion. Thinking in thy heart, lotus feet of thy Guru. Thinking in thy heart, lotus feet of thy Guru. If you want to cross the ocean of delusion, if you want to cross the ocean of delusion, shame in the white lotus in purity, shame in the white lotus in purity, beyond all duality. Guru, image of Brahma, deliver us from delusion. Guru, image of Brahma, Brahma, deliver us from delusion. Think in thy heart, lotus feet of thy Guru. Think in thy heart, lotus feet of thy Guru. If you want to cross the ocean of delusion, if you want to cross the ocean of delusion, shame in the white lotus in purity, shame in the white lotus in purity, beyond all duality. Guru, image of Brahma, deliver us from delusion. Guru, image of Brahma, deliver us from delusion. Think in thy heart, lotus feet of thy Guru. Think in thy heart, lotus feet of thy Guru. If you want to cross the ocean of delusion, if you want to cross the ocean of delusion, shame in the white lotus in purity, shame in the white lotus in purity, beyond all duality. Guru, image of Brahma, deliver us from delusion. Guru, image of Brahma, deliver us from delusion. Think in thy heart, lotus feet of thy Guru. Think in thy heart, lotus feet of thy Guru. If you want to cross the ocean of delusion, if you want to cross the ocean of delusion, shame in the white lotus in purity, shame in the white lotus in purity, beyond all duality. Guru, image of Brahma, deliver us from delusion. Guru, image of Brahma, deliver us from delusion. Shame in the white lotus in purity, shame in the white lotus in purity, beyond all duality. Guru, image of Brahma, deliver us from delusion. 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 Think in thy heart, lotus feet of thy Guru.
Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our final class in Inner Renewal Retreat. Let's begin with a prayer. Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, dearest friend, beloved God, great Masters, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Lahiri Mahashai, Swami Shri Yukteswar, beloved Guru, Paramahansa Yogananda, saints of all religions, we humbly bow to you all. Divine Mother, open our hearts and minds, that we may attune ourselves to your eternal light. May all our thoughts and actions be guided by this light, until finally we merge in that light. We yearn for thee. Guide us home, Mother. Om. Peace. Amen. Is Jyotish just in time for the conch blowing?
You want us before the music?
I guess so. No? After the music? Music.
Life is beautiful, life is gay, when I give myself away, when I live to please thee, Lord, dancing in my ray. Let me see thee everywhere, hear thy melodies in the air. Let me feel thy strength in me, give me joy to share. Life is beautiful, life is gay, when I give myself away, when I live to please thee, Lord, dancing in thy ray. Let me see thee everywhere, hear thy melodies in the air. Let me feel thy strength in me, give me joy to share. Let me feel thy strength in me, give me joy to share.
Okay, let's bring the Pandavas here. Leave it to you.
Well, it's a joy to come and share on this topic of attunement. And it's one of those topics, thank you, that truly form the foundation of the spiritual life. You know, I was pondering, thank you. You want to give the talk too? I mean, I was pondering something that Swami would often say when he was living with Paramahansa Yogananda. And he said when Yogananda was entertaining guests, he could be the most charming, most personable individual, really entertaining his guests. But around disciples, he was quietly reserved, always emphasizing attunement, attunement, attunement. And it's through that attunement that we tune in, that we experience God's living presence, not only in ourselves, but in the Guru, in all of life. And simply put, attunement is receptivity, isn't it? Whatever we focus our energy on, we're going to open our hearts and minds and gradually grow in our attunement to that reality. And so the question is, what are we attuned to? There is this fun story that Yogananda would often share about this man who dedicated his life to studying eels. And he learned everything there was about these eels, about their mating patterns, their migration, if they had migration, but their life cycles. And Yogananda would chuckle. It's like, my God, if this man dedicated that kind of energy to finding God, he would tune into everything there is to know about the universe. And so it is that this world offers us a spectrum of consciousness to tune into. And depending on where we focus our energy, our attunement will either pull our energy downward, outward, or upward. So naturally for us who are seeking divine attunement, we want to seek that attunement that lifts our energy up, that inspires us to open ourselves to that divine reality within. And so let's practice what Sri Yukteswar offers. Let's learn to behave. Let's learn to behave in that way that awakens that memory, that focuses our attention in that direction, that opens our consciousness to the divine reality. I had an interesting experience with this in a recent seclusion. And this seclusion was one that I was definitely anticipating. My God, I was hungry for it. I was starving for it. It was right after a very busy period of life and interacting with a lot of people, just a lot of mental activity. And we all felt that. And finally, when I arrived to this little cabin in the village, my energy was flat. My devotion was flat. And I was like, Master, please, this is my 1 week of the year to be with you. Awaken that fervor. Bring me closer to thee. Let's make use of this time together. Well, I prayed, help me. And in that evening's meditation, something came to me that was very poignant. This thought, like a lightning bolt, came. Give me your time and energy, and I will give you my consciousness. And so I brought that into practices of Kriya, into energization, into chanting, really devoting not only the time, not only my energy, but my willing cooperation with the power that's latent in these practices. And in a very short time, my entire perspective changed. I became more open. I felt God's closeness. And I felt, wow, if I could live every day with this kind of consideration to embrace every moment that God gives me, I could be living in a constant state of attunement. And so it is for all of us. Swami has given us, Master has given us a spiritualized culture. I was thinking about the role music plays in culture. Music reflects the consciousness of a culture. And what a great gift we have in the music we have. It reflects our culture of self-realization, of divine attunement. We have everything we need to live in a constant state of attunement. The question is, are we embracing it? There was that story of this disciple who was praying for Master's blessings. And he said, Divine Mother's blessings are there. My blessings are there. It's your blessings that are needed. And so let's give this life our blessing. Let us embrace as much as we can. And whatever inspires us about this path, that's our unique journey. So let us energize that. And if we can even turn up the dial a little bit, whether it be the chanting, the meditation, whether it's the music, whether it's the service, the satsang, turn the dial up just a little bit. And like a wedge, that focused energy will open up the rest of the spiritual path, opening us to that light within. But what happens and what do we do once the attunement comes? I was thinking about this because I often think, wow, life should be easier. Once I was working with Nakula, and anybody who knows Nayaswami Nakula, he's an intense fellow. And I remember when I first moved to Ananda, I was working outside with him on a project, and I was like, gosh, it's so hard. And with these lightning bolt eyes, he just looked at me and said, life is hard work. I'm like, okay, sir, I'll keep digging. And so it is hard, but the reason why is because divine attunement, for it to flow in our life, we have to remember and fully accept what divine attunement's trying to do through us. Where is it taking us? It's not trying to clean up our little mud puddle, it's taking us to moksha. It wants to free us from every limiting thought, feeling, habit. It wants us to be free. There's this fun cartoon. I've never seen it, but Swami often talks about it, of this man who is praying, is there anyone up there? And a thunderous voice said, yes, my child, I am here. What should I do with my life? You should live a simple and chaste life, a pure and chaste life. And the man kind of looked around a little bit. He's like, is there anyone else up there? And isn't it so? We feel guidance in our life to do something, to embrace something, to take our next step. And it's daunting. It's overwhelming. It's frightful. And yet it's through that attunement that we gain access to that divine strength that makes that step possible, that makes that growth, that makes that moksha possible. And so God has one wish, and that wish is to free us from his ocean of suffering and misery. He doesn't want us to suffer. Yogananda said he regrets the mess he has put us in. And so it's through our divine attunement that we feel that wish of God. We feel that flow of energy that is trying to take us away from every limitation. And so the question for us, are we cooperating with that grace? Are we cooperating with that attunement? Are we saying yes to allow God to mold and shape us into his saint? It's not easy, but it's possible. And so we have to say yes and be willing. There was this interesting story that I had, or experience I had in Los Angeles when I was serving Ananda there a few years ago. I was in a cafe, which I often find myself in, and I was sort of drawn into a little bit of reflection, and I was observing the people coming and going, waiting for their coffees and whatnot. And I started thinking about worldly consciousness and how it thrives on self-definition. It thrives on definition. I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer, I'm a police officer, I'm a husband, I'm a wife, I'm this, I'm that. And it's contained in this sort of self-preserving security. And it thinks it's going to find its joy and happiness and fulfillment in these identifications. As Swamiji said, the ego is a bundle of self-definitions. And so worldly consciousness likes that containment. And yet we're deluded to think we can ever find what we're looking for in a definition, in a finite reality. And so for the devotee, we're being invited to identify with infinity. For the ego, that's quite a leap. For the ego, that's a little bit startling. And yet, when we open ourselves to that divine attunement in our lives, we practice the teachings, we commune with the Guru, we feel that living presence of the light, we're given the strength we need in order to embrace what we need to embrace to be free. A few years ago, Swami Kriyananda's last birthday here in Ananda village, it always, actually never ceases to amaze me to see this saint on his birthday blessing hundreds of people. He was the one putting out that energy. But at the time of kneeling before Swamiji and asking for his blessing, he whispered, "Come in closer so I can bless you." And at first I was like, oh my God, I ruined the blessing. I'm like 100 feet away from this great saint, making him reach out in eternity to come bless me. But then I meditated on what he was saying. He said, I have to meet him halfway. Come in closer to that inner stillness in your heart, in your soul, so that I can bless you. And so divine attunement is that invitation for us to withdraw from the world, withdraw from these identifications, to center ourselves within ourselves, so that we can feel God's blessing. And when we can do this, we'll feel God ever near us. But there's another element for deepening our attunement. It's having the courage to act on attunement. You know, when Swami Kriyananda first read the autobiography of a yogi, He took the next bus from New York. He left everything that he knew behind and embraced that journey to become a disciple, to dedicate everything he can to spreading his guru's work. Of course, it's easy to have that kind of courage when you know the guidance we receive is right. But how do we know? And so Swami gives us some beautiful little things to consider that I invite you all to look at in your life. That sense attunement is drawing us closer to our divine self. If it's true guidance, we're going to feel the qualities of God more pronounced in our lives. We're going to feel a greater sense of joy. We're going to feel a sense of light, I almost said darkness, but no, not darkness. But we're going to feel that inspiration, that expansion, that greater receptivity. If we don't allow ourselves to experiment with the guidance we receive, we're living the passive life. It's basically sitting back with our feet up in the chair and saying, "You do it for me, God." We have to be a willing participant in drawing this guidance. And by opening ourselves to the guidance, we may be guided to do something. Experiment. Does it lead to greater joy? Does it lead to greater harmony? If it does, great. If it doesn't, keep a check. And so living the life of attunement is living a life of listening, learning to tune in to those subtle currents of consciousness in our lives to see if it's leading us to greater expansion or greater contraction. But again, it's not always easy. And so, I forgot what I was going to say. In a way, I'm going to move on from that. Don't get hung up, just keep flowing. So, love. Love is the magnetic force that draws us closer to God. You know, Yogananda said everything in this world is consciousness, and that this consciousness has two forces, one of Maya, of delusion that pulls our energy outward, further into creation, and that other force of divine love which draws us closer to Him. And so that divine love is constantly being extended to us, and we're being asked to open our hearts to feel that love. But it's not always easy to love what we don't know, what we do not understand, right? It's difficult. As Yogananda said, you can't love something that you don't know. But don't fool yourself. Because all of us sitting in this room, all of us tuning in online, we have had an experience of divine love to one degree or another. We wouldn't be sitting here if it wasn't that. In some way, divine love has guided us, has blessed us, has awakened within us the thirst to seek God. And so the first step to opening our hearts is to be grateful for those blessings, to be aware of those blessings, to open ourselves to feel and commune with those blessings. And not only the blessings of the past, but the blessings that are right here, right now. I'm sure if we all closed our eyes in this very moment, you can feel a touch of that love. Open yourself to that. Because the more we can appreciate that love, the more our heart will open to that love, and the more we will commune with that love. And I want to end with this story, which is so touching, of the eternal protection of the Guru, and how the Guru will go through great lengths to keep the disciple open, to keep the disciple faithful. Dr. Lewis, as we all know, was Yogananda's first Kriya Yoga disciple in the West, and he was a dentist in Boston. And upon meeting Yogananda, that first meeting, when he became a disciple, Yogananda asked him, "Will you love me as I love you?" "Yes, sir. I'm yours." Some months or years later, Dr. Lewis was working on a patient, and this patient was outright ridiculing Yogananda, criticizing him. Because, you know, Yogananda was a public figure. He was giving many talks all around Massachusetts, Boston area. And that negativity started to sort of cause this stirring of doubt in Dr. Lewis's heart. Doubt and concern. Maybe this is right. How do I know Yogananda is who he says he is? Well, Yogananda, being a man of God, picked up on his disciple in trouble. He was across town, and he ran across town. Can you imagine that? Swami in his silk robes with his long flowing hair, darting to his disciple's dentist's office. And he bursts in the door and he looks at doctor and he says, "You still love me, doctor, as I love you?" Yes, sir. And that reassurance of divine love, the protection of the Guru reawakened in his heart, the understanding that no matter what happens in life, no matter what ups and downs one may go through, as long as we hold on to the Guru will awaken our heart to his living presence and will live in his light. Many blessings.
Good morning, everyone. And thank you, Jyotish and Devi, for such a beautiful week thus far. And just reflecting on this week, I think that one of the many things that have touched my heart is just how much you help us to see that living for God is joy. And it should be fun. And so in that spirit of fun, I'd like to ask you all to stand. And some of you, this may be your first time of playing this game, but I suspect all of you have played it at least once. It's the game of Simon Says. Very simple rules. I'm going to ask you to do something physically simple, but you only do that which I've asked if I start with saying Simon Says, and then you do that action, okay? So let's play this together. So Simon says, lift your left arm up. Simon says, lift your arm down. Simon says, lift your right arm to your head. Simon says, release your arm down. You guys are pretty good at this. Okay, you can all be seated. Okay, game over. You can all be seated. True. So such a fun game this is. But there's also a really deep lesson in this. I meditate often in the Shrine of the Masters. And I sit facing Master's large image, and just to the left, in one of the cases, there's this book, and it's an earlier publication. And the name of the book is called Master Said. And it's such a beautiful, and it always draws my attention, because in today's topic of attunement, this is really what we're all being asked to do in our life. To realize that our lives, once the Guru entered in this incarnation, our life changed. And realizing this and embracing this to the fullest extent possible, bringing it into every little moment of your life. As Devi and Jyotish were mentioning this week on how Swami, that story when they were taking a walk and Swami stopped and said, that's what Swami meant. So, Master, yes, thank you. And that's really the goal also. Swami and Master becomes one with living that life. But for all of us, this is our life. And there's nothing that we need to do to shift things in a colossal way to begin to live the same life that Swami lived as Swami was with Master, in the life that Master lived with Sri Yukteswar and so forth. And as Dion was sharing, in some ways I was reflecting on attunement as there are two sides to the same coin. One, there's putting out that tremendous, steadfast flow of energy in every little thing that we do, calling on Master, his guidance through prayer, through meditation, through all of the hundreds of things that Jyotish and Devi offered as practice for us to go deeper in our attunement. But there's also that side, as Dion was sharing, which is living in accordance to that attunement and what we're receiving with Master's guidance, and what prevents us from opening wide to receive that grace and that guidance in God's will. Well, Swami Kriyananda said that the clearer the soul's awareness of higher guidance, the greater the freedom from the dictates of karma. And so perfect attunement, perfect surrender to God's will requires a lot of energy, a lot of focus. And one thing that pulls us from this, that we all are aware of, is desire. And I'm going to share just a very brief story. I won't say too many stories about my life in relation to how desires keep us from attunement to God. I don't want to make myself look that bad. But there was this one story that it was fun. It was fun to learn the lesson with Master. I came here to Ananda Village with just about $2,500 to my name, and I needed a vehicle. And so I went with a couple of friends to Sacramento. I did my research, I prayed, I did everything, tried to attune to Master. Master, what do you want for me? Not what do I want? Well, of course, as you see here at Ananda Village, Hondas and Toyotas. That's because they're a good, strong vehicle. So that's what I felt, to invest in something long-term. I go to Sacramento, I'm looking for Hondas and Toyotas around my price range. Well, I had a little seed, a little desire inside me still of Audis. I really love Audis. Now, with $2,500, an Audi is a challenging thing to purchase, but lo, this shiny silver Audi, exact price of how much money I had. It was an older Audi, of course, but it was mint, so clean. And I thought, Master, this is just too good to be true. Thank you. And so I went for a test drive, and the person trying to sell me the car had the radio blasting, which is a good sign to perhaps not buy that vehicle. But I was driving, and I don't remember, I think it was Sanjan who was with me in the back seat. And we were driving, and I was practicing attunement. I was praying to Master, Master, is this your will? Is this what you want for me? I certainly love this. And that desire was strong in me. And no joke, it was an older car, but on the radio there was a stream of words that would come up for the song or the title of the band. And I was praying to Master stronger and stronger. Master, is this your will? And coming up on the radio were the words, N-O. No joke. I don't know if this band or if that was his Master, I don't know. But all that aside, guess what I did? I bought the car. And then guess what happened? It was a lemon. And so I lost that. Luckily, Dion helped me recover from that. But but I look back at that expensive lesson that I had to learn. But I look back and I have to say, it was fun to be with Master in this journey towards self-realization. And if I just stayed hardened in my heart that, or become discouraged of this process, then it just weighs heavier and heavier on us to want to motivate our hearts to call Master in every moment, even if we make a mistake or not. It's the process of bringing Master into every decision of your life, because when we do that, we feel his love, and he'll guide us the best he can. And on this front of having fun with attunement and praying and invoking the Guru's presence, there was this young girl who was late for Bible class. And so she dressed up in her Sunday's best in her dress, and she grabbed her Bible and she began to run to Bible class. And so she was praying to God, please, Lord, don't let me be late. Don't let me be late. And she kept this prayer going. Please don't let me be late. And then suddenly she tripped and fell and got her whole dress all dirty and ripped up. And she got up and she started running again, full speed to Bible class. And she kept that prayer. Lord, please don't let me be late. Help me not to be late. But also, don't shove me. But again, I read that and I just thought, that's the spirit of, this is a joyful journey of finding God. And the Masters love to have fun with us. And one thing I want to offer to you as an exercise that I often practice this, especially in seclusion, is, as Master taught us, to attune to God as father, as mother, as friend, as beloved. And so choose one day to focus on the Guru as your beloved, as your mother, as your friend, and live in accordance to that each day. And have fun with that. I often like to, during my day where I spend the day with Master as friend, we always try to get into a little mischief because that's the day for mischief. But having fun and lightening the heart in this journey is important. Again, to motivate our hearts to want to draw our Master into every moment of our life. You know, very often Swami said that for even very important questions that were asked to Master, he would only give a little hint because he wanted everyone to go deep inside and just to discover that innate wisdom within them and to tune into his consciousness. And picking up from what Dion was sharing, that, you know, Master in the earlier days, you know, many people would come and visit, and they would afterwards talk to the monks and nuns, and they would say, "You're so lucky," you know, because Master would tell jokes and he would spend such a lovely time with everyone. And they would just say, "You're so lucky." But all of the monks and nuns would smile because they knew that when they were with Master, Master encouraged them to be in silence with him. Because Master said, silence is the altar of God. And he said that we cannot feel God if we're not in that silence. And so this is yet another very important thing to practice. You don't wait for the seclusion. Have an hour, 2 hours. Practice listening to that silence. And going further than that, Swami, you know, reminded us that there's been many great saints who have brought their disciples to God without saying a word. And in a similar way, you know, Swami tells the story that, you know, here Swami was. He came to Master as a very young man, and there already was established a monastery with monks who have been living that life for many years. And Master asked Swami to become the head monk and to lead the monastery. And so Swami, of course, you know, expected that Master was going to give him many instructions on what to do, how to do it. But Master never did. Swami said that once Master told him that we'll talk about what I want from you. But he never did, because he wanted Swami to tune inwardly to his consciousness. And just the same, Master, I loved how Jyotish and Devi reminded us that the living presence of the Masters are here with us, are always with us. So we should also expect just the same in our daily life, that we're going to be asked to do different things, but Master is always asking us to tune into his consciousness. And this is the essence of our discipleship. And this is the life that we've been given to find God, because Master didn't come to give us just specific things to learn for the sake of learning them. He came to give us everything for us to tune in to how to attune to the ray of the divine light. And I wanted to share a story that was really inspiring. It's been very inspiring for me with tuning into awakening this fervor in our hearts to keep going deeper. There's a story of a young disciple who went to the Guru for training to find God, and the Guru accepted him, and he said, "There is something that I would like you to do in your service to me. You see this big boulder, this big rock. What I'd like you to do is I'd like you to push this rock as hard as you can with all of your effort. I'm going to be traveling. I'll be back soon, but this is what I'm asking you to do." So, as a good disciple, day and night, shoulders pressed against this hard, cold slab of stone, pressing on as hard with all of his effort, day after day after day, without even budging it. One evening, he went to sleep, feeling very discouraged, because he hadn't budged this stone. The Guru asked him to do this, and he felt very discouraged, and he was failing. And so this is the exact time that with this growing discouragement, Mr. Satan entered the picture, and with realizing that, started to feed more thoughts in this devotee's mind of, what's the use? Why kill yourself over pressing on this rock? You haven't even budged it. Why continue to do this? And so these thoughts started to feed more and more, and the devotee started to feel that I'm going to lessen my effort because this is impossible. And just as he started to feel that, his guru arrived. And he was a good disciple, so he was always trying to call on his guru for help. And his guru arrived, and his guru said to him, how's things going? And the guru, with a heavy heart, said, Guruji, I've been pressing on this stone with all of my might, but I haven't budged it at all. And I feel I'm a failure. And the guru said to him, he said that, I see that you are discouraged at this time, but look at yourself. Look at the muscles that you've formed on your arms and the calloused hands, and your legs are like tree trunks with strength. And he said to the disciple, he said that, remember, when you came to me for training, which you accepted, I asked you to press on this stone with all of your might, but never once did I ask you to move it. And so in this story, the disciple then opened his heart, and the guru said further that, I didn't ask you to move it, but I see that you have a heavy heart and that you're tired. So, my son, I will move this rock with you. All I asked of you is to have faith in my wisdom, in attunement to me in these ways. And I like this story because just the same for all of us, we all have that stone in our life, in our discipleship, that Master has asked us to work on. And we may feel each day as we wake up and we see that massive stone, we keep pressing, and it may not seem that it's budging. But that's not the point. The point that Master is asking of our hearts is that we keep calling him, and that we keep offering ourselves ever more fully into his light through our meditation. And this story that I wanted to share of a dream that I had, which really changed my life. It was a super conscious dream. And I share this, and I've shared this before, and I really feel Master encourages me to share it as much as I can. And I was at Mount Washington, and a devotee came to notify me that Master wanted to see me. And so when the disciple came and said, Master wants to see you, I felt at first scared because I thought, did I do something wrong? And he said, Master wants to see you, he's in the front. And so I walked out of Mount Washington, and I saw out in the distance in the front lawn there, Master. And there was a beautiful, very nice big garden. And so I started to approach the garden, and I noticed that Master had his pants rolled up and his sleeves rolled up, and his beautiful hair was blowing in the wind, and he was down there digging, and he was working so hard. And I thought, I was very inspired. And so I entered the garden, and I bowed at his feet, and I said, Guruji, you wanted to see me. And as he stopped, and he looked up at me, and he said, yes. He said, do you see this garden here? It's a beautiful garden, isn't it? And I said, yes, it is, Master. And he said, can I ask you to do something for me? And I said, yes, sir. But I also answered it hesitantly. I thought, what's Master asking me here? Maybe I should ask him first before I agree. But I said, yes, sir. And he said, you see this garden? He said, all I ask of you is to water this garden every morning and every evening. Can you do that? And I looked around. It was a big garden. And I said, yes, sir, I can do that. And he said, good. And he head down, started working so hard again in the garden. And as I was leaving the garden, I was walking back up to the big white building, Mount Washington. I looked back, and just Master was still working so hard. And then I woke up. And as soon as I woke up, tears were falling down my eyes, because what came to me at that moment was that garden is our spiritual life. And remember this, that Master is working so hard in your garden for you to find God. And all we have to do, our only part, is to water it daily through prayer, through meditation, and to just keep moving forward. And I wanted to close with this reading from Swamiji, as we should never forget, this life that has been given to us is a life seeking moksha. And in the new path, the very last chapter, which is perhaps one of the shortest chapters of this book, it is entitled The Final Goal. And I'm going to read these words which he ends this great book with, referencing a couple of our Guru's favorite chants, which I won't sing in Bengali, but I will read the English translation of this. And let's close our eyes and feel that in our hearts and souls, this inner, ever-deepening call in self-offering to our Guru, to Divine Mother, to God. My desires have not yet been fulfilled, my hopes not yet realized. O Mother, my earthly dreams have all fled away. Once more I call out from the pain of my heart, Mother, take me on your lap. O Mother, my earthly dreams have all fled away. In this world, Mother, who is there that truly loves? In this world they do not know how to love. There where true love is, there alone would my heart dwell forever. O Mother, my earthly dreams have all fled away. Long, long have I called you, dearest one. How much longer can I keep on calling? For love of you, my heart is breaking. O Mother, my earthly dreams have all fled away. Yet my hopes, alas, have not yet been fulfilled. And so ends my story, as Sister Yanamata would often say, God alone, God alone. God bless you all.
Thank you to our speakers already. And ending on that devotional note, I feel like we should be meditating, but hopefully more and better. We just keep going. How is everybody?
Awake and ready.
How feels everybody?
Awake and ready.
That's the spirit. And a great foundation for attunement, isn't it? That kind and quality of receptivity. When I first came to Ananda in mid-70s, right about that time, Swamiji, he had just finished writing The New Path, and he was preparing to go on a world tour, including India. And I was very new, very ready, but very new to this path, to the whole idea of community. And the thought instantly hit me, if he's going, what does that mean? What are we doing? Because it was clear that he was driving everything on a subtle level, on an outward level. And he was the reason, Master through Swamiji, that this community had even come into being. And so I was curious, I was concerned, I was a little bit afraid, thinking, well, if he's going, maybe I should go too. Maybe there's nothing really going on here. And I was talking with Seva, already a dear friend from the great past that we have all lived, and one of the, along with Jyotish, founding members of this community in the late 60s. And I said to Seva, Swamiji's going. I mean, what are we doing? What's going to happen? Are we going to be okay? And she just said very simply, Maria, attunement is everything. Get it together. She didn't say that, but, attunement is everything. That's what you need to focus on. And as Swamiji said, ultimately, there is no human effort that is going to take us to God. It is the Guru. And so I started on that process, which continues, of trying to get more and more deeply in tune. Rajarsi Janakananda, near the end of his life, he had visions all the time and constantly. Master, his guru, all the gurus would come to him and tell him things and or answer questions that people had asked. And on this one occasion, one of the individuals tending to him in his last few years said, Rajarsi, why do they always come to you? Why do all our gurus come to you? Why do you have visions all the time? In other words, why don't I have those? And Rajarsi, as he oftentimes did, would speak on behalf of Master. It was Master coming through him. And he shared Master's words, answering that question. And Master said, they must come to me through meditation and light, not me come down to them, but they up to me. So that's very good guidance for us all in regards to attunement. That's what attunement is. It's coming up to that level of consciousness, aspiring to that level of consciousness on which the gurus live, their consciousness, God's infinite consciousness. In the early years of Ananda beginning in India, and this was around 2003, 2004, and we'd pretty much just landed there, and it wasn't quite clear what was going to work in terms of reaching out to people and sharing the teachings. Swamiji was there, people were there coming and going, but it was trying this and that for just a little bit. And about that time, a thought surfaced, why don't we set up a book table on the street and share the teachings, share our products? Well, that was when I came. And I came for a couple of weeks to help in whatever way was needed. So that was it. So every day for a couple of weeks, I would leave Gurgaon, which is where we were staying, with a very young Indian man, my escort, and we would go by a little van or cab, I can't remember what it was, something that would hold all the books and the tapes and recordings, this kind of thing. And we would travel to Delhi. And the freeway wasn't in place at that time, so it was a road of fast, slow, busy, thick traffic, and at many checkpoints that one had to go through to get into Delhi. And as oftentimes happened, you would be held at those checkpoints, 45 minutes, hour and a half. You'd be sitting there, in the heat, waiting for someone to decide your fate. Hopefully the guru through this person, but it would take some time. And they'd have to decide, who you were, what were you doing, what was in the van, et cetera, et cetera. And then we'd get to Delhi, and we'd kind of have to go through it all again. We had set up ahead of time, okay, we're going to this location, this is what we're going to do, and we had gotten some kind of relative clearance. But inevitably, when we got there, we had to talk to this person, that person, that person. Sometimes we had to sit down over tea and say why we were there, what we were doing, talk about our guru. So it could be well into middle of the afternoon by the time we could really set up this table. And we would be there sometimes till 10 or 11 at night, pack it up, go home, turn around, come back the next day. So at the end of this, and it was fun. we were there on Master's behalf, Swamiji's behalf. We were meeting people. It was good. But about the last couple of days, we headed in yet again. And it was hot, and crowds and noise and all that is India was happening. And I started to get really faint, and I almost felt like I was going to faint. So I went in and sat in the passenger seat of the van just to collect myself, drink some electrolytes, this kind of thing. And this thought came into my consciousness. Prayer. It was a prayer. Divine Mother, get me out of here now. I'm done. Not too proud of it, but that was my consciousness. So I gathered my forces to head back out to the table. And Riemann Riemann and Padma were in India at the same time, and he came in that day too, so there were 3 of us. So I head back out to the table, was there not more than 15 minutes, and we got a phone call from Swamiji. Swamiji said, come back to Gurgaon right now, meet us for dinner, hurry up. And we were like, oh my gosh, how are we going to get there? I mean, we were hours, and then just the usual things that happen. Somehow we got there, and they had just come right before us, and they were seated in the restaurant. Miracle that we got there, but we did. And we went up to the table, and there was a place next to Swamiji, and he motioned me to sit there, but first he just held my gaze, and he said, I hope that you miss us as much as we'll miss you. Well, I really had to compose myself then, because I was about to be reduced to a puddle on the floor. He knew my thoughts, and this would happen again and again. He just knew what I was thinking, and he was going to level that karma right then and there. But I was thinking about it, that story came to mind, that experience, because God is just trying to love us. That's all that's really going on. And we get distracted by the circumstances, by the challenges, by what we think we should be doing or should not be doing, or what's important or what isn't. And through all of it, what's really happening is God is just trying to love us, just trying to, as has been said, give us the opportunities to find freedom, to realize freedom in this life. There is a beautiful account that a direct disciple of Master's gave, Peggy Dietz. She's no longer living. But she was very new to Master, and Master said to her one day, Peggy, what I want you to do is go out and mix with people. If you ever get asked to a social event or a party, you go and you mix with people. And she said to Master, but that's not who I am. I mean, I've left all that behind. I don't mix with people. I'm not around drinking. What if they're drinking? What if they're smoking? I don't want to be there. And Master said to her, Peggy, wouldn't you do this for God and Guru? And Peggy said, well, she was very matter of fact. She had a very cute wit. Well, if you put it that way, of course I'll do it. And that's just what we forget. Periodically, we forget why we're doing this, that we're doing it for God and Guru, and we're not really doing it for any other reason. There's no other glory, not in this world. It's all for God and Guru and whatever we can give in the surrender of our hearts to that higher consciousness. And Swamiji said, as has been mentioned this week, he shared with us so many times how he would try to feel what Master wanted, what his Guru wanted in the moment. We can think of it, in terms of what is the highest thing to do. That's how we're being guided. We're being guided to that highest expression that can flow through us. And so what does he want? What is he saying? How are we being guided? And Swamiji said if we can do that, then it doesn't matter if we can't meditate well. It doesn't matter. You'll get in tune anyway. So we have that. We want to try, we want to do our best that we possibly can and keep making the effort, because you never know. We never know when it's going to click and come together finally. But if we just try, we'll get in tune. I'm so grateful that Dion mentioned music, because I was not going to let this time go without mentioning the gift we have through the music that Swamiji has given us, a gift to change our consciousness, to lift it and get us in tune. And a gift that if we use it, if we express it, if we sing it, is going to change the lives of so many people. And it does, and it has. And I wanted to just share with you a few experiences that I was able to be a part of in that regard. We were once in Assisi, and a group of us was asked to sing at a baptism that was being performed at the Basilica of St. Francis. This is if you haven't been there, I mean, it's a massive, massive cathedral church. And the couple, the husband was going to be baptized as a Catholic. They were also friends of Ananda, but this needed to take place. They were getting married, and this was what needed to happen. So we went there to sing, and we sang, I can still remember, we sang Blessed the Life, we sang Cloisters, and we sang Door of My Heart. And after the ceremony, there was 3 brothers there officiating at the ceremony, and just 4 or 5 of us, and then the couple. And afterwards, one of the brothers, clearly, the mood was so elevated and so deep, and just to hear that music, in those acoustics. And one of the brothers said, thanked us, of course, and said how much he appreciated the music and the vibration. And he said, it made me want to do it all over again. Take that ceremony, be a part of such a ceremony that was supported by such an uplifting vibration. And it helped create and bring together a unity amongst all of us. The power of this music can impart so much. It can impart devotion, it can impart upliftment, it can impart unity, all these things. We were on pilgrimage once in India, and we went to one of Mother Teresa's, I was going to say ashram, but yeah, it's an ashram, but I don't think it's called that. So, one of the large homes where they take care of people and the little children and whatnot. And we had gone there. Of course, we wanted to see her. Of course, we knew she was, heard she was in town. And so we went there, and we were told, she was very busy and she couldn't see us. So we asked, can we sing anyway? Because we had wanted to sing for her. We said, can we sing anyway? Could we just sing a few songs? And they said yes. And so we started to sing. And we were just like in this little hallway, very small little space, and we were all kind of crowded in there, and we sang. And after a couple of songs, she came through the door. And she said, I couldn't stay away. I had to see who was singing this music. It was so beautiful. That music drew a saint into our midst. The power of that music to uplift consciousness and attune us. If we hadn't, through that music, lifted our consciousness, I don't think we would have seen her. I don't think we would have received that blessing. So we have so much in what Swamiji has given us through the music to come close to God and to get in tune and attune our consciousness to these great ones. Thank you.
Well, the last shall be the last in this case. Let's
let's do some super conscious living exercises, okay? So let's all stand up, and I won't try to trick you like Jitendra did. We know these exercises. The first one, awake and ready. Let's just move. I'm awake and ready. 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 I'm positive, energetic, enthusiastic. I'm positive, energetic, enthusiastic. I'm positive, energetic, enthusiastic. Okay, let's take our seats. So, maybe this will be short, we'll see. I don't think I'll go more than 15 minutes. What I thought I wanted to share is something that has helped me in my attunement, something I read quite a while ago, something Swami had written when he was the head monk at SRF as a Christmas gift for other monks so that they could develop their attunement. And I try to put it in a fun way and in a way that we'll remember, because when I read what Swami wrote, I saw, well, this is something that can make or break a deep spiritual practice. And we talked about meditation, we talked about self-offering, we talked about service, and this quality that I want to talk about probably applies to each of those, and to attunement. It's a quality that all saints share, because there are many qualities that different saints have and don't have. Some are plump, some are skinny, some are healthy, some are unhealthy. Some are literate, some are illiterate, some are tall, some are short, some live long, some die young. But there's one quality they all share, and I'll come to that in just a moment. But I also want to say, this morning I opened this book, God Alone. And it opened at a particular page, and when I read it, I said, I need to share this, because this is, Jnanamata Yogananda said, her path to God was through wisdom, jnana. And this sort of oozes that jnana. And then I remember that there's probably a few people here who took the vows of renunciation. Can I see a show of hands? Did somebody take the pilgrim vow this morning? A few people, very nice. And there's many others here who have taken other vows of renunciation, the Nayaswami vow, the Brahmachari vow, Tyagi vows, or the Sevaka Sadhaka vows. And what Jnanamata writes here is very, very vital and to the point for anybody who's thinking of renunciation, whether you take a formal vow or not. And the Sanskrit word for renunciation is sannyas, and I'm only saying that because she uses that word here. And this she wrote to other sister disciples who were probably feeling diffident. Am I worthy of taking the vow of renunciation? And so this is classic Jnanamata, pure wisdom. She says, do not judge your fitness for sannyas by the things you know or can do. You might be letter perfect in the philosophical teachings, in the practice of the techniques. You might be able to stand before an audience and deliver a good lecture. You might be ready to instruct a class of students, yet you might not be prepared for sannyas. The test is whether or not there's a fire of devotion burning upon the altar of your heart. If there is, and if it burns steadily through joy and pain, through success and the gratification of your innocent wishes, and through denial and the frustration of your desires, you are ready right now. The rest can be acquired as you go along. For sisterhood is a state of constant striving for higher and higher perfection on all lines. And then she ends that letter by giving a prayer for all the sisters, her fellow disciples. And I really like this. Very simple. She says, teach me to meditate until I intuit thee. Teach me to pray until I find thee. Teach me to demand until I receive thy kingdom. Teach me to seek thee until I find thee. Teach me to love thee whether it is thy pleasure to reveal thyself or not. Teach me to meditate until I feel thy bliss. Teach me to seek thee until thou dost answer. Teach me to feel thy peace until thou dost reveal thyself as bliss. And the quality I want to talk about, which is somehow hinted here, but I'll also talk about it in Master's way, because Master's way was not just wisdom, it was joy, as Jitendra mentioned, is intensity. Intensity on the spiritual path is everything when understood right. And I'm going to read something Swami Kriyananda wrote on this topic, but I'm also going to use something from my least favorite scripture, which is the Yoga Sutras. And the reason I say it's my least favorite is I find it very dry. There is no loving story, there is no human touch, like Krishna saying, I'm with you, like Jesus, commiserating with the suffering of his disciples. It's blunt spiritual teachings. But it's a scripture. It's written by a saint from that high level of self-realization, because that was his duty to do. But this one is where I find great joy in my heart, and you will see why. This is probably the favorite shloka, sutra, for Indians, or for those of you who have been to India or to an Indian restaurant. And classic Patanjali fashion, this is very terse. This is first chapter. Patanjali says, the time required for success depends on whether one's practice is mild, medium, or intense. Indian food, mild, medium, intense. How many of you have had that experience? My mom was cooking for some time here at Master's Market, and they put the note out on Mighty Networks saying, she's making Indian food. Good friend Lakshman calls her right away. No spices, right? And so sure enough, she makes something without spices. Somebody else calls saying, but I like spicy Indian food. And so the point I'm trying to make here is mild, medium, and intense. If you go to any restaurant, Asian restaurant, Indian restaurant, especially in India, and if they say see you're a Westerner, they'll ask you, how do you want the food prepared? Mild, medium, or hot? That's how they'll put it, hot. And so why am I saying this? Because we don't just want to absorb the teachings, but we want to find a way that things in life remind us of these principles. So next time you go even to Master's Market, go to the salsa alley, and what will it say there? Mild, medium, and hot. That's just how it is. But the point I'm also trying to make here is we want to build towards that intensity. And it's not something that can be done without proper training. And Krishnadas is not here, but he was telling me the story of how when he was a young man in his 20s, he was in Los Angeles, and he went with a friend to an Asian restaurant, and there the server asked him this shloka of Patanjali, mild, medium, or intense, and with bravado, he said intense. And I won't tell you what happened after that. You have to catch him and ask him. But the results were not pretty, because he hadn't developed the ability to have that hot food. And the point I'm trying to make here, though, is on the path to self-realization, without intensity, we won't become liberated. That's the one quality all saints share. Intensity of seeking. And this is why I want to read something from that letter I mentioned, Letters to Truth Seekers. And what Swami writes here applies to all things, meditation, service, self-offering. And Swami says, and perhaps let me also say this. This is something for all of us to reflect on as Swami says these words. See if our meditations especially could benefit from what Swami writes here, because this is very important. Swami says, he who gauges the quality of his meditations by the number of hours he spends in meditation follows a dangerous practice. The most important factor in everything we do is not time, but intensity. The longer we meditate intensely, the better. Many a spiritual novice idealizes time at the expense of depth. The result is that he develops the pernicious habit of absent-mindedness in meditation. I have seen such devotees in our group meditations begin to nod almost as soon as they take their seats. A dull mind is no help to spiritual progress. Master once reminded the disciples, the minutes are more important than the years. In meditation, as in life, it is the minutes that count. This does not mean all your meditation should be brief, but they should all be deep. And then Swami gives a few guidelines, because it's not enough to just say, okay, we want to be intense in our meditations. How do we do that? And so these guidelines are what I have tried, when possible, to keep in the forefront of my mind. So I'll read them, and maybe we'll talk just a bit about each of them and see how we can apply it. And I also say this, maybe apply it for the rest of this week when you have guided meditations, when we have this afternoon meditation. Try to build intensity in this way. And even though it seems like we are always trying to work hard on our sadhanas, it's only needed for some time. Once the bliss, as Swami was told by Master, when ecstasy comes, everything goes. And when our meditations start producing joy, they also become self-correcting. You automatically start doing the right things longer and deeper. But in the beginning, we want to keep these principles in mind. So Swami says, meditate as long as you can with intensity, but always with intensity. Sit an hour, no, sit half an hour, and throw yourself heart and soul into your practices of the techniques, into your prayers. When you can do this without diminishing your zeal, then extend the time. That is how saints are produced. And so this might be something we can all practice. Try sometimes to have shorter meditations. Don't pressure yourself thinking you have to be there for an hour, half an hour, 45 minutes. Try doing lesser number of kriyas, but do them with intensity. And as we practice them with intensity, they generate energy. Kriya generates energy, it generates magnetism. And magnetism means automatically we can do more and better. But if we can, even once a week, take time of saying, this is the day I meditate shorter but more intense. Or our afternoon meditations will be the ones that are shorter but more intense. I think the benefits will filter into all our meditations. And then Swami also says, so that's one, how we can develop intensity in meditation. But Swami also says intensity should be practiced in every phase of our life. And this reminds me of something Turiya Ananda used to say, he's SRF monk. He used to say, our actions during the day make our meditations during the night, because these are two sides of the same coin. How we work the rest of our day is the attitude we bring in our meditation. So Swami says, it has been my experience that among disciples who spend the longest overtime in the office, there are some whose work output is not correspondingly large. Indeed, it may even be negligible. One devotee during an office changeover several years ago had most of her duties temporarily taken away from her. During this lull in her work, she could have finished her daily duties in an hour. Yet still she spent extra evening hours at her desk. And again, Swami then says, keen, alert attention is the way to find the time for everything we need to do. And it is the only way to reach God. And so this intensity is not just for our meditation. It's wonderful to train ourselves to be intense when we work, deep concentration. You know, Patanjali in the Yoga Sutras, he uses the word tivra samvegam. That's the Sanskrit word he uses. But if we can develop that in everything we do, when we listen to somebody, listen to them. When we read something, focus deeply. When we are working on a project, give it our full undivided attention. That quality automatically translates into everything else. And gives us more time. We have more time to do things, we have more time to relax and enjoy, which brings me to the third and final point, that relaxation and enjoyment have to be a part of developing that intensity. You know, because many times we think intensity means tension or stress. And so coming back to that same shloka or sutra from Patanjali, I want to read Swami's commentary there. So the sutra, as you know, was that time required for success depends on whether one's practice is mild, medium, or intense. And Swami says, to the modern mind, intensity seems like tension. It is important not to let effort be defined by any tension, either physical or mental. So this is where it requires work and practice. How to be intense without being tense. And at Ananda, I must say, more than anywhere else, we have wonderful examples of such people. I mean, on the Q&A that was happening yesterday, the relaxation with which Jyotish and Devi were answering questions, or the relaxation they always have when you talk with them, or with other people here, you'd assume, well, they are living a life of ease, as somebody told Dhyana when she was in India. They said this to the wrong person, if you know Dhyana. He says, you must live a life of ease, get up, chant Om, and then chant again, and just take a walk and contemplate God. I said, are you crazy? I live in Gurgaon. There's dogs here, and there's traffic there, and I have to do this, and I have to do that. But looking at her, they couldn't tell, because she was very composed, but she's intense. Hurricane Dhyana is what sometimes we call her, affectionately. But coming back here, Swami was like that, very relaxed, but not dull. Relaxation is not dullness. Intensity is not tension. When we develop the right kind of intensity, and this comes by right practice of Kriya, that's what makes Kriya a whole science. Practiced correctly, it brings all the qualities that are needed for self-realization. Yogananda, when he was once giving a Kriya talk, he said, God is the hive. Organization is the hive and God is the honey. And then he simply said, Kriya will bring the honey for you. And you say, well, this is just a technique. Yes, if it's practiced as just a technique, but there's so much more in it. It produces magnetism. And the right magnetism attracts everything. It attracts God and it attracts all the attributes of God, which intensity is one of those. So again, I want to come back to this as I wrap up, which I'm going to do by reading a letter from Master. But let's focus on intensity. And next time you go to an Indian restaurant or to a Mexican aisle or wherever it is, make everything in life, we want to make everything in life remind us of something about the spiritual path, and it can be done. And let it remind us of the need for intensity in our practice. And because we are talking so much about Indian food, I don't know, we'll go to the expanding light today and you might find there's an Indian curry there for lunch. Who knows? But remember, if this is the last day you are here, please thank the chef. Julie is doing such a great job there. I mean, she's been God sent, and I know she appreciates, because people tell me, the food is so great. And I say, well, yes, it's nice you're telling me this, but maybe you can also tell the chef who puts all the efforts there. So anyway, I want to read from Treasures Against Time. I borrowed this book from Swami Maria. It has many letters from Master to Dr. Lewis. And I'm going to read, surprisingly, this is the first letter in the book. And this is the first letter that Master ever wrote to Mildred Lewis, who is Dr. Lewis's wife. Dr. and Mrs. Lewis were the first Kriya Yoga disciples of Master. And this is where I mean, Gyanamata's way was wisdom, but Yogananda's was joy. He brought everything and spiritualized it. So let me read this letter and see where it takes us. Now, those of you who are super big on healthy stuff, you might have to close your ears or forget that Master said this, okay? There's a reason that Indians prefer taste over health, because in the scriptures, remember what Master says in the chapter Experience in Superconsciousness, the scriptures define God as rasa, the most relishable. Not the most healthy and most eco-friendly and, all those things. Delicious. It's the taste that counts. So coming back here, this is from West Somerville, Massachusetts. Indians can justify anything they do. That's what you realize. So this is West Somerville, Massachusetts, August 12, 1921. Dear Mildred, glad to receive your letter today. I'm glad you praised the turnip Creole. This is some recipe Master had. But do not forget to sing the message of Satsanga along with that. Satsanga was the name Master first gave SRF. So he's saying, I'm glad you praised the turnip Creole, but do not forget to sing the name of Satsanga along with that. The Satsanga is the salt of the soup. Without that, it's tasteless. So I shall always be still more glad if I find you all fostering and spreading broadcast of the seeds of satsanga. Don't underestimate the soul's power within you. Do at least something which you can. However, now to turnip soup. You know the peeling and cutting them into chips along with potatoes and summer squash. Smear them with saffron and a lot of red paprika and salt. Fry them well. Then pour water sufficiently to boil them. Add plenty of sugar and huge quantity of butter. Cover the soup when boiling. And then when the water becomes thick and all things are well cooked, take it down. No garam masala. Eat it hot. You can also give the Lewises, so this is the whole Lewis family, a taste of my onion rings. Cut onions in round rings. Dip them in beaten egg with salt and paprika. Add garam masala if possible. And then fry in deep fat. At the same time, don't think I'm discouraging you in any way in giving people the enjoyment of a soup. What I say is you should not stop there. Should always lie in readiness to give something more along with that whenever they are unawares and sober. My blessings to you, Dr. Mr. Baba, which is probably Dr. Lewis's father, Miss Lewis. Greetings to Dolly and her sister. With best wishes, Swami Yogananda Giri. So, we'll have the Kriya retreat in the evening for Kriya Bans. So let me take this opportunity from all our behalf to thank Jyotish and Devi. This has been a super spreader event. You know, you brought your inspiration and infected us all with the joy and the light. And the transmission happens online too. You don't have to be here in person. So always a joy, always a highlight of the year. And I hope next year we have twice or thrice this number and some new topics to talk about. So we'll take a short break and come back here for meditation with Jitendra. Okay, thank you.
Let's begin with a prayer together. Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, friend, beloved God, great masters, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Lahiri Maharshai, Swami Shri Yukteswar, beloved Guru, Paramahansa Yogananda Ji, saints of all religions, humbly we invoke thy blessings. Help us to dive deep in this meditation, intensifying our concentration, offering all of our love through the techniques. Help us to awaken to your living presence. We are ever yours. Om. Peace. Amen. So let us awaken devotion in our hearts with chanting this beautiful chant in the Valley of Sorrow, and feel that intensification of devotion, of light within you in your heart and soul, taking it into meditation. Just for you. of sorrow 1,000 years or till tomorrow. In the valley of sorrow 1,000 years or till tomorrow. But I'll wait to see just you. My Lord, I want to see only you, just you. My heart's aflame, my soul's afire. 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 Just for you, just you. My Lord, I want to see only you, Let's take a moment now and call to mind anyone that you know that is in need of healing. Deeply concentrating on each individual, asking Divine Mother to bless them and see them surrounded with light. Let us now also visualize this world, and wherever there is darkness, that the great masters, their light may prevail, that wherever there is conflict or disharmony, that Divine Mother's blessings may awaken in their hearts compassion in the realization that we are all one. Seeing this planet surrounded with our Guru's grace and his light entering every heart. Let's pray together. Divine Mother, Thou art omnipresent. Thou art in all Thy children. Thou art in all those in need. Manifest Thy healing presence in all their bodies, minds, and souls. Peace. Amen. So many blessings to you all, and if we can be mindful as we leave the sanctuary to honor the silence for those who wish to continue to be in meditation.